WNWK presents the award-winning broadcast journalist, Guy LeBeau, at large. Conversations with the vital persons who affect our lives, who alter the way we think and act and survive. Here's LeBeau at large.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Chris, for that wonderful introduction. And I'll pay back by teaching you a little bit about gambling today. So when you make your annual trip to the Atlantic City casinos, as I know you do, with our staff at least once a year, annual once a year. That sounds right. Well, then you'll be good and set. And I think that our folks who are listening today will be too. This is not going to be one of those sobering broadcasts unless you're one of those compulsive gamblers, in which case we'll tell you where to go. I must tell you that I invited a guy to be my guest this morning who wrote a book about gambling. The book is called Gambling for Fun. Now, being naive as I am, I expected to see a dark, shifty guy, maybe sniffing coke, moving his feet like a trip hammer. But instead, I get a clean-cut guy who teaches or writes about real estate and other things, has a master's degree in business, he sings and he writes music. And right away, I think that kind of a guy who gets into gambling has got to be a loser. But anyway, this book is called The First Honest Book by him on gambling. That in itself is a contradiction in terms, and we're going to find out why he doesn't think so, because he dubbed the book that. Here's Nick Roes from where, Nick? New Jersey, as a matter of fact?
Saddle River.
Where? Saddle River. Oh, Saddle River. They have a lot of horse stables out there, don't they?
The home of President Nixon, too, former President Nixon.
Well, I'll overlook that. If the horses don't mind, I don't. Nick, it is a contradiction in terms to say that your book is the first honest book about gambling. What have the other books been? Dishonest?
Well, I think the other books mostly appeal to the reader's greed instead of their common sense. I don't promise people riches, I only promise them fun, which I think is a lot easier to deliver on.
Isn't that a cop-out, though, a little bit? I mean, do people gamble for fun, or do they gamble for winning? Or why do people
if they gamble to win, they're not.
In this book called Gambling for Fun, how many people gamble for fun, or is that your advice?
My advice is to gamble for fun, because if you gamble to get ahead or to win, you're not very bright, because most of the places where you can gamble don't give you a chance, really, to come out ahead over the long run.
Uh-huh. Is that why you wrote that when you were writing about poker in this book, and I must tell you, folks, it's an excellent little book, especially for the guy who's never gambled before. He gets a lot of lessons in logic. He gets a lot of lessons in the games themselves, various games like baccarat and poker and horse racing and blackjack and slot machines and so on, progressive slot machines. Did I say that right?
Right.
That's what they are. But you get an idea of how the thing is rigged against you, but how you can fight back to emulate a guy named David Horowitz, who has a program by that name. Anyway, what do you mean when you say the gambler who goes into a casino, whether it's in Atlantic City or anywhere else, should know something about the house edge? I think I understand what you mean, but how do you know about the house edge? How does anybody know?
The house edge is the amount of money that the casino, as a percentage, will likely keep on each bet that's made. It ranges from, say, 18 or 20% in some games to 2 or 3% in other games.
Yeah.
So all other things being equal, you'd be better off playing a game with a low house edge of 2% or so than you would be making a bet where the odds are 18% for the house.
Yeah, but Nick Roes, when you go to a casino, I've been to a few, nobody is standing out there and saying, get your house edge over here, get your big house edge over here. How do you know what the house edge is, or it is standard in every casino for all of these standard games, or what?
You will sometimes hear them saying, get your house edge, not quite in that way, but if you play dice, they'll always be asking you to bet those things in the middle of the table, where the house edge is more against you. But they'll never tell you to bet, say, on certain places where there is no house edge.
So they try to induce you to bet in the center.
Right.
Yeah. They don't tell you why they're inducing you, do they?
No, they will say things like, how about money on the hard 8? Because that will take maybe 14%.
Nick, you're accentuating the negative, and I don't like that. I'm still trying to find out. Here I am, dopey Guy LeBeau, going into the Bally Casino, if you will. I got a few bucks in my pocket, a couple of credit cards, which are no good here. And I don't know which of the games gives you the best house edge? The house edge, clearly, according to what you've said, and as I understand, and you've been succinct about it, is what the house expects to keep of all the money paid out when the day is over. And they better keep that or they won't be in business. So that means that certain games are rigged? Is that what it means?
It's rigged, so the house percentage is on the side of the house. What you could do, the best thing is when you go into the casino, don't give them any more of an edge than you have to. They have the odds in their favor, but what they really have in their favor more is human nature. When people gamble and they're ahead, they think, now I'm really hot, I have to keep playing. When they're behind, they think, oh, my luck's bound to change soon, I have to keep playing. And usually the only time you leave is when you have no money left. So this tries to give you some kind of game plan to give you at least a fighting chance. You won't win all the time, but you can win sometimes. And if you're happy with that, then you can be a recreational gambler.
Let's see. You're an irascible guy. You won't come right to the point. But the book says, look for the house edge.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the house edge strongest in slot machines?
Yes, it's about the strongest in slot machines. If you're looking for the lowest house edge, you could stay with baccarat or dice, certain bets in those games. And if you're a card counter, you could do very well in blackjack.
Well, we'll go into that in a minute. All right. If you're playing the slot machines, that means you have more of a chance of losing your money because the house edge is bigger. Is that correct?
That's right.
And if you're winning, you're not going to win that much anyway either. That's another reason why the house edge is big.
Right.
That's correct too.
They have to make those machines pay for themselves.
And I and I flunked arithmetic 1 and 2, by the way, Nick. Okay. Now, you say in baccarat and a few of the card games, you're better off playing there because you got a better chance of winning more. You got a better chance possibly of winning more often because the house take is not as big. Okay?
Right. If you compare roulette to baccarat, you'd be better off playing baccarat because the house percentage is about half what it is in roulette.
Do slot machines differ in their payouts, or do they differ in the amount that they let you win? And who fixes these machines?
They differ very greatly, but it's a closely guarded secret at the casinos which ones pay out the best.
Yeah.
If you were gambling in Las Vegas, they'll actually advertise the payback sometimes. They'll say liberal slots, 98% return to the player. So naturally, if 98% of the money is returned to the player, it's better than if only 86% or 90% is returned to the player.
I don't buy that. What if 98% was returned to one player? I would like to hear how many players it's made returns to. That's what I'm interested in. I don't want to win 98%. I'll settle for a mere 8%.
If you were the one that wins, but there's no guarantee of that. You have to go by the percentages because you have nothing else to go by.
Yeah. So I have to go by the fact that if the machine advertises that 98% of its money taken in that day has been paid out as on a regular basis, and the house has only kept 2%, poor guys, that's the machine to play.
All of the things being equal, which you have to assume everything else is equal. You can't assume the person just before you won a big jackpot or has put a lot of money in and is due for a jackpot.
I'm talking to Nick Roes, who's written this book, Gambling for Fun. The book is fun by itself, by the way, and you get information on how to play dice and blackjack and poker and do all kinds of sports betting, baccarat, horse racing, roulette, progressive slots and lotteries and stuff like that. And the foolproof fun formula is what he claims it is. Now, Nick Roes is a syndicated columnist, author of 5 previous books, frequent speaker on the subject of gambling. He has an M.A. degree in business and public management. Are you a compulsive gambler?
No, I don't think so.
Are you compulsive at anything? You look like a laid-back guy.
I'm really not. If you can be a compulsive gambler, you'll be compulsive in other things, too. And one of the important things to do is to see that this isn't one of your addictions. If you're a compulsive gambler, you should stay away completely.
Nick, here's what I do when I go to the casino. I only play the slot machines. And they don't want my business. I'm a nickel player. 45-cent player. Oh, gosh. I hate to have these confessionals on the air, but it makes me feel good when I'm off the air. LeBeau, you told the truth. You're a cheapo. That's true. And I give myself a certain amount of time. If I'm not ahead by 1 hour, let's say, on 1 or 2 machines, I'm finished. I don't care what I...
That's a very sensible system.
I'm out, and I try to have fun while I'm doing it. Because sometimes it's not so much fun, it's frustrating.
That's right.
The machine owes you.
It's getting more and more complicated.
And in my observance as a journalist, I have a feeling that the house sometimes uses shills. You know what a shill is? Where a guy comes around with a lot of money, and I don't know, maybe he knows how to win on a machine. I doubt that, but he's throwing money in there, and you stay and watch him, and especially he goes away after a while and say, okay, this Dumbo didn't stay and win anything. Now that he's shot so much money into the machine, I'm going to throw a few shekels in there. course, you don't win either. Are there shills in the slot machine business?
Not really in the slot
To
machine
make you
business.
wanna play?
The casinos don't have to. They don't really need it in the slot machines. They
Yeah.
use them in poker tables and other places. But really, in the slot machines, the odds are so much in their percentage anyway, and there will be so many people hitting at any given time that they don't really need shills for that.
So, folks, you see, I'm having this discussion with Nick, and we've got a long way to go yet. Only half of the program has been digested, and you're already a winner because you know a little bit more about the slots. Listen, let me take a minute for a place where you can't lose no matter how much you bet. It's the Abruzzi Restaurant on West 56th Street. It's my favorite.
And now let us return to LeBeau at Large.
And I can't wait to get back to Nick Roes and his book called Gambling for Fun. Nick, this book is sold everywhere around in all the bookstores now, and you ought to have a copy of it before you take on the behemoths of Atlantic City.
Right, I'd recommend it.
You do recommend it, huh? Okay. You also have a chapter on how to beat the slots, how to play the slots. This will be perhaps my last question, but I like the quote that you have about your grandmother, or what you feel about your grandmother in connection with gambling. Tell about that.
Yes, I think that maybe the slot machines are the fountain of youth because my grandmother has aches and pains, and she can hardly sit up or stand. And when she gets down to Atlantic City, she runs from machine to machine and pulls the handle feverishly and tries to get a whole row and not let anybody else get in on that row.
She can't raise her hand that high otherwise, but to get it up to the slot machine and pull it down,
Right, she
does.
forgets about everything.
Yeah.
There were some situations, really, there's been power failures, people have had heart attacks, and they just keep pulling the machine. It's really hard to get some people away. They really go crazy with
They
those
do,
machines.
yes. Oh, my goodness. Looking for those 3 lemons. Okay. How can you be sure to win at the slots? You know, not sure, but pretty sure. Well, I mean, I got a niece who won $600 the other day.
The only way to be sure is to leave right after you win a big jackpot.
Oh, there's no real
You have
strategy.
to. You have to be. Well, if you're playing, say, the nickel machines, and you're putting in 5 nickels at a time,
Yeah.
it's probably better to put 1 quarter in the quarter machines because each machine has to earn its keep, so to speak, and so they have to take a bigger percentage of the nickels to get the same amount of money than they do of the quarters. So usually the higher denomination machines will pay off better percentage-wise than the smaller denomination
And you're
machines.
more likely to win on a volume basis when you're playing the higher buck machines. Is that correct?
Right. Although, of course, it will cost you more dollars in the long run because even though it's a smaller
Yeah.
percentage, it's more money out of your pocket.
Yeah. Are you ahead of the gambling? Are you ahead of the casinos, Nick? I see you came here without a tie. You came here. You have a full suit at home
Yes.
for
one.
going out and
Right.
everything else? You have an automobile that's paid for?
Barely.
You do.
But I happen to be ahead for this year, but over my lifetime, I'm sure I won't come out ahead because it's a game of chance.
Does anybody ever come out ahead unless they quit when they're winning?
There are certain people who can beat certain games. Such you heard the card counters in blackjack. Just the idea that casinos will ban somebody
Wait a
proves
minute.
that.
Now, let me introduce this correctly, because you just ramble on. One of the things that I did learn before Rose got here, I don't know too much about gambling, is the fact that there are ignominious people called card counters. Ignominious insofar as the casino is concerned. And these cats apparently know how to play blackjack to a fault. And they're going to win most of the time. They're going to come up with the best numbers close to 21, and they're hardly ever going to go over. Now, tell me how that works, will you?
Card counting is where you keep track of the number of cards that have been out, and so you know roughly what the cards are that are left. And when there are a lot of 10s left in the deck, then the odds are more into the player's favor. So the odds can shift to be slightly in the player's favor in certain situations if you keep track of what cards have been played. Now, the catch is that they use 8 decks sometimes in Atlantic City. You have to have almost a photographic memory. And although the Supreme Court ruled that they can't ban a card counter, they can decide to shuffle the cards after every hand. So if they recognize you as a card counter, they could just shuffle after each hand, and that will effectively...
Well, what difference does it make? When you talk about counting cards, let's say one pot is over. Maybe 5 guys are playing blackjack, all right? And somebody has won. When the dealer, whoever it is, then he gathers up all the cards. Does he exclude them from the next round of blackjack?
Yes.
Or are they returned to the deck, shuffled up, and they start fresh?
No, usually in Atlantic City they have 8 decks, and they'll go through about 6 of them before they shuffle. So if you kept track, you could tell when there were more aces and 10s in the deck, and then it would be you should increase your bets.
How do they know who's a card counter? Because years ago, I don't know now, but years ago they used to take him by the seat of the pants, maybe give him a shot in the head or two and throw him out of the place. Or, sir, would you mind following me to the office? And they're told, get the hell out of here.
Right.
Because these guys are going to win all the loot, aren't they? They're going to break the bank.
if it's obvious sometimes if the person is betting $5, $5, then all of a sudden they bet $2,000 because the deck has gone into their favor. Then they can pretty well spot that. But you have to also be experienced in not letting them know that you're a card counter. So for most people, that's really pie in the sky. There's just a few people who can really count cards and get away with it.
Yeah, being a card counter.
You might as well work for a living if you're going to have to do that much.
Yeah, right. And then you talk about poker. And what you say about poker is very interesting. You say, always play poker. This is a must, according to Nick Roes, who's written this fun book called Have More Fun Gambling. Now, I'm sorry that you didn't bring this, that we didn't interview you before Christmas time. This is a heck of a good, and everybody gambles. This is a good thing to give a family when a kid is born. You know, along with the layette, here's this little book. You're going to need it. Listen, there's no shame in being a gambler, providing you don't belong to Gamblers Anonymous and you're not a compulsive gambler. George Washington, I must tell you, as a guy who is I'm a historian of the Revolutionary War, was the biggest gambler ever in the history of gambling. And he would, sitting on a horse, he would bet which foot the horse was going to put first among the two. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was. Okay. But you say about poker, always play poker with somebody dumber than you are.
My poker buddies didn't like that very much, but I didn't really mean anything personal.
Yes, you did.
The idea is that it's a game of relative skill poker. So if you pay a little bit more attention than the people you're playing with, or a little bit smarter than the people you're playing with, or know the odds better than the people you're playing with, then you'll win. There's no sense to play someone who is more skilled than you, because then you'll probably lose.
Do you want to give us a quick piece of advice on horse racing? Just a piece of advice.
At the racetrack, you're not really playing against the odds. You're playing against all the other players who are there.
Yeah.
And what the odds say on the board are not really the chances of the horses winning. That's what the crowd has decided. So you should try to look for a place where the crowd is wrong.
In other words, go against the crowd at least 50% of the time. You're going to come out with winnings that much.
Well, it's not quite that simple. But if you,
I'm a simple guy. You tell me why it's not simple.
There are a lot of different variables in horse racing, but it's a game of skill, because you can look at certain things that over the long run do mean something statistically. Yeah. The class of the horse, the past record of the horse.
Why do I persist in thinking that harness racing has been, or is perhaps still, mostly fixed? And do you feel that way?
It's pretty easy to fix, actually, and
because they break gait and they break their running stride, and that's out of business. Nobody has to touch them, and they break it.
In harness racing, the most important thing really is post position. If you look at the number 1 horse will win more than the number 2 horse, will win more than number 3 horse.
Yeah. Well, do you think it's fixed?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to fix. That's why they ban a lot of those superfecta kind of bets, where you have to pick the first 4 horses. Because then all you need to do to fix the race is to get one of the favorites to hold back and come in 5th. And if you cover all the other combinations, you can come out ahead every time.
Do you go to harness racing? Do you bet on harness racing?
Once in a while, I go to Monticello.
Yeah, it's fun anyway to watch, even though you know, I think it's all arranged that on many of the races that somebody's going to come out ahead because all the other drivers are holding back. I hope I'm not being sued for this, but I used to broadcast harness racing, and for years I couldn't win on anything. And one day I gave my secretary, I think it was $6 to bet on number 8. This is the truth. She bet 8 on number 6. I won.
That's the secret. I have to put that in my sequel.
Okay. We'll be back in a minute. And when we come back, we're going to find out about things like Looky Louie. Yeah, that's right. It's all in gambling. Once again, this is Guy LeBeau. Now I'm going to ask my guest, Nick Roes, who's written the book Gambling for Fun, which you can find in all of your favorite bookstores. How much does this book cost, Nick?
$9.95.
Oh, I really should be able to get that back after playing 15 minutes on a good slot machine. Look, Nick, if you had your druthers, and advise my folks out there, because I know my people, they're taking buses every once in a while, getting $5 handout from the owner of the casino, coming, or $15 or whatever they're giving now. But maybe they ought to pick one of their own choice, avoid the $15 handout, and go to what casino, would you say, in Atlantic City? Which is the best one you like for the average Mr. and Mrs. to go there and not lose too many bucks, maybe win a few?
Well, my favorite is Resorts International, but they're really pretty much the same. Most of them give the same kind of odds and the same kind of deals. You mentioned the buses. The few people who do beat Atlantic City on a regular basis, as I understand it, are some senior citizens who get the senior citizen discount on the way down. They get the free meal, and they don't gamble at all, and they take the ride back, and they come out a few dollars ahead, and they have a nice day.
I can't wait to be a senior citizen. That sounds good enough for me. Now, if you go to Las Vegas, where do you think the folks ought to go for getting the best deal overall and a good shot at the machines and the tables?
Vegas World is good, and if you check the specials once you get out there... Vegas World, right.
Yeah.
And if you check the specials when you get out there, there's more advertising of odds out in Las Vegas than there is in Atlantic City.
All right, now a couple of interpretations, if you will, of things that you've observed around the gambling. Are these your own terms that you've made up, or
yes, they are.
Your observations are? You're a writer of 5 books, as a matter of fact, and you say avoid, if you can, the crybabies, especially those that may be playing next to you at whatever game. What's a crybaby?
The crybaby is the person who just can't ever say anything is good. When they lose, they cry that they're losing. Even when they win, they cry that they didn't bet enough money. So they're never happy no matter what happens.
And they depress you. And you're sorry you came along with these people, or, or standing alongside of them.
Part of the fun is seeing what it does to otherwise normal people. Gambling really brings out the best and worst in some people.
Yeah,
and that's part of the fun, watching
I think that's true. I'm when you said he's always crying, I'm thinking of a particular guy, and now I hate him even more. And what's a finger pointer?
A finger pointer is a close relative of the crybaby, but he has to blame somebody in particular for his bad luck. So he'll say, "Oh, the jockey held my horse back, or my wife jinxed me, or the guy next to me did something wrong, and my card got taken."
And of course, I should know about what a know-it-all is, but a know-it-all is always the guy who said, "I told you black was good," or "I told you red was good."
Only after it's too late, though.
Only after it's too late. Yeah. Is
and
that
he
what a know-it-all is?
usually have to loan him money to get home for some reason. I don't know why, but he knows it all. But for some reason, he's tapped out by the end of the day.
You're still talking about many of my friends. And what's an act bigger?
Act biggers are the ones that save up money all year long just to have maybe 1 or 2 days or a week in the casino, and they tip big and they bet big, and they hope that nobody will notice that while they're laughing on the outside, they're crying on the inside.
Yeah. And what is it you have to do or be in a casino, be regarded as a high roller? I have friends of mine, even family. They go to the biggest casinos. They get wined and dined overnight, free lodging, and they get free dinners and this and that. Does that mean they're spending a lot of money at the tables or something?
Yes, probably. I don't want to insult your family, but what they call
Go ahead,
complimentary.
I do it all the time.
What they call complimentary things aren't really compliments at all. They're really insults, because they don't give you a free room or a free meal unless they think that you're dumb enough to lose enough money to make up for that.
But
room
if you're smart enough not to, then you're ahead, aren't you?
Right, but they probably wouldn't give it to you if they
thought
looked at you that way, right?
Holy
so it's an insult, not a compliment.
That gives me reason to insult my family a little bit more. Thank you for that. And a looky Louie, that's the final question.
Looky Louies are in every business. They just come and they just watch, and real gamblers hate them because they're happy when you win because they watched you win, but they're just as happy when you lose because it wasn't them that lost. And so all serious gamblers don't like them, especially because probably just watching is the smartest thing to do in a casino.
Don't do anything to stop people buying your book. This book is called Gambling for Fun, and looking at the way Nick Roes does, and he gives you very excellent, complete information about what to do when you hit the casino, and he doesn't mean for you to stop playing, but to play smarter. Listen, I got to grab a bus to Atlantic City. See you soon, Nick, and thank you.
Thanks for having me.
This is Guy LeBeau. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. with another VIP in the world of news. Have good luck wherever you go.